it's Camilla from the Sewing Society, and welcome to part 2 of the masterclass for zips. I'll link part 1 of the masterclass series for zippers on the screen, and I'll also put it in the description as well if you'd like to watch that. In this video, we're going to be covering invisible zippers, a fly zipper, and also a hand-picked zipper. Okay, let's get started. To get started, let's talk a little bit about the different kinds of zips and different types of zipper feet for your sewing machine. Here I've got a regular zipper foot and also an invisible zipper foot. Both of these have room for the zipper teeth so that the machine can maneuver around them. This is a basic zip, the most common kind of zip and used in many different kinds of applications. This is an invisible zip, and you can see already without it even being installed that you can't see the teeth. They are on the underside. So you can put it into any seam and it doesn't look like there's anything there. Next up, I've got some metal zippers. These are usually used in garments like jeans or anything that is hard wearing. These are really strong. And last but not least, an open-ended zip. So these are used in jackets and vests or anywhere you need the two pieces of fabric to come away from each other completely. First up, we've got invisible zips. The invisible zip can be used on any kind of garment, but more commonly used with lighter weight fabrics. In sewing, there's always more than one way to do something, but I found this is the easiest way to put in an invisible zipper. Here you can see the invisible zipper foot has little notches that go over the zipper teeth so that you can stitch really close to the teeth. Most machines will come with an invisible zipper foot. If yours doesn't, I definitely recommend getting one to suit your machine because it will make your life a lot easier than just using the regular foot. We're going to start off with a zipper that's about 2 to 3 centimeters or an inch longer than what you need. With the fabric pieces right sides together, we're going to make a little mark 2 to 3 centimeters or 1 inch from the bottom of the zipper tape. Then we're going to go to the machine and sew regular stitch from the bottom of the seam up until that mark point, and then we're going to change the stitch length to a basting stitch from the mark up until the top of the seam. For the purpose of the tutorial, I'm just going to be using some sample pieces of fabric, and also I'll be using a green stitching thread so that it's easy for you to see what I'm stitching. You'll use whatever thread matches your garment or your zipper. I'm just going to put a little snip into the seam allowance where the two different stitches meet. Now open the seam up and give it a good press. With the right side of the zipper facing the seam allowance, place it over the basted stitch section, making sure that it's in the center of that seam. Then we're going to baste the zipper in place just to the seam allowance. Now we can take out the basting stitch from the seam. Now with the zipper open, we're going to go to the machine and sew it in place. Line up the zipper foot with the zipper teeth like this. It doesn't matter which side of the zipper you start on, but sew all the way down till you can't sew anymore with the zip tab in the way. Then do the same on the other side. You'll need to change the foot position so that it lines up with the teeth. And that's it. You've sewn an invisible zipper. Now you can leave the basting stitches that are in the seam allowance if you like, or you can take them out. Now just pull the zipper tab through the little gap. It looks so nice, and doing it this way means that you don't get a little bump in the seam allowance, which makes it look even nicer. Next up, we've got the fly zip. These are used in trousers and jeans and can be scary, but hopefully today you'll learn a nice straightforward technique that will inspire you to give it a go. So we've got all of our pieces. We've got the two front trouser pieces and the fly extension, the fly, and our zipper. I've overlocked all of the raw edges before I start, so everything is nice and neatly finished. First, we're going to attach the zipper to the fly extension within the seam allowance, like this. Now with your trouser piece right side facing up, we're going to flip the zipper over onto the top and stitch it in place, using whatever seam allowance is in your pattern. Now we're going to turn it back over and do a line of top stitching as close to the edge of the fabric as we can. Okay, now we're going to put that aside for a minute while we work on the other side of the trousers. With the other side of your trousers, right side facing up, take the fly piece and line up the straight edge with the center front seam edge. Stitch this in place using your allocated seam allowance. Once you've stitched it in place, we're going to snip into the seam allowance right at the very bottom of the fly. Then we're going to flip it round to the wrong side and then top stitch it in place. You also need to snip into the seam allowance on the other side of the trousers, just underneath the fly extension. Then place right sides together, then we're going to sew the center front seam. Now we need to attach the other side of the zip to the other side of the trousers. To do that, we need to pin the fly extension out of the way so that it doesn't get caught up in the stitching. Line everything up like this, and then we're going to turn it over to the wrong side so that it's looking like this, having the fly separate away from the rest of the trousers. Pin the zipper to the fly piece, and then we're going to sew it in place. Now we're going to top stitch the fly in place. I'm just going to put some pins to keep everything in place while we're doing the top stitching. I'm also going to make note of where the end of the zipper is so that I don't stitch through the bar tab. Take your fly pattern piece and using some chalk or an air erasable pen, mark in the stitch line. Now we're almost finished. Now we can take out the pins that were keeping the extension out of the way, because we want to now put in some bar tacks to keep the extension in place behind the zipper. We need to change the stitch on the machine to a zigzag stitch that's really tight. So I have mine set to stitch width 3 and length 0.3. I don't know what happened to the rest of the video there, but when you do the bar tack, you want to go through all the layers of fabric so that everything is connected. We're going to put another bar tack just where it sort of starts to curve, but still connects to the fly extension. Then I finished off by doing 2 rows of top stitching from the base of the first bar tack. This will make that seam extra strong as well. The next step would be then to put your waistband on. And that's how to do a fly zip. I hope you'll give it a try. Let me know if you have any questions. Next up, I'm going to show you how to do a hand-picked zipper. This is a really lovely technique and is done by hand, but is surprisingly strong and is really great to use on delicate fabrics. We're going to start off like we did with the invisible zipper, marking the end of the zip on our fabric, and we're going to sew from that notch down in regular stitch and from the notch up in basting stitch. Press the seam open nice and flat, and we're going to place the right side of the zipper down onto the seam allowance. This technique is very similar to a regular zip. The only difference is that we're putting it in by hand. Next, we need to baste the zipper in place just to the seam allowance. I'm going to baste it by hand, but you can use the sewing machine. Okay, now we're ready to sew the zipper in place. Prepare your needle and thread. I like to do from fingertip to elbow length thread, and I double it over and put a knot in the ends. To keep the stitching straight, I'm going to mark a guide with my air erasable pen. I have this nifty little ruler that is 1 centimeter wide or half an inch, and I'm going to make my markings half a centimeter or a quarter of an inch on either side of the seam line. I'm also going to mark where the end of the zipper is. So I'm going to start from the right side and work my way around. I'm going to secure the thread at the top and then make my first stitch. It's like a back stitch, but you just take a little bit on top, but a larger stitch at the back. I spaced the stitches about half a centimeter or a quarter of an inch apart. Continue stitching along like this until you reach the other side of your zip. Once you get to the end, secure the threads, and all that's left to do is take out the basting stitches. I really enjoyed doing this method of hand-picked zips. It's surprisingly easy and it looks really nice as well. Let me know if you give it a try. I hope you enjoyed part 2 of the Zippers Masterclass. If you'd like to learn the more basic zipper insertions, I'd cover that in part 1, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And we do a regular zip, a lap zip, and also a exposed zip. I'll also put a link to my other masterclass series if you're interested to have a look as well. Please give a like and subscribe if you'd like to see some more sewing videos like this one. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.